think a pleasure to be here today. Of course, also from my side, welcome to all the participants in the webinar and to my fellow colleagues of the Digital Days. So I represent ChemChimp, and we are a company that specifically is building digital solutions targeting niche, high impact challenges in the chemical sector. So most of you know me very well from our first launch, which is called ChemSmog, as you can see on the top left of the screen. We are currently in the development of two other applications that will be launching this year. One is already through its first testing phase. So the next solution we have is our auction house. So we developed the auction house based on some requests from the clients, and actually we see that with all the ongoing geopolitical stress, having a single way to sell larger lots has become very interesting and very particular. So what we did in the end is a very straightforward e-auction house where we actively help companies to market and to position larger lot materials. So this happens through a very straightforward, in the end, classical bidding process. So as you can see on the screen, I used an example of a material that we received from a client, where you can see it's quite a large inventory. And the client specifically mentioned, I don't want to go through the hassle of selling single bags in this case. So what we have is this kind of competitive setup where people can view all the necessary information and place a bid. Of course, from our side, we verify participation. So we ensure that the users are part of, they go through due diligence. We help, of course, protect the value by having a single lot in a bidding system. And through this digital approach, we have several opportunistic ways to promote the material. So in general, from this perspective, what we want to offer to the people is, of course, in a digital fashion, you have your single lot simplicity. You can access potentially new markets because, of course, here there is no geographical boundary. This can be positioned and promoted anywhere where we want. You have the potential to acquire new customers because people are aware of which products are in your portfolio. I think an important thing at the moment is, of course, to have a reduced time to cash. Everybody is having issues, and we have to make sure that we don't remain with frozen assets. You can adapt to the ever-changing market, and you have, again, the flexible visibility. So I think that was, in summary, some of the smaller things we're developing and that are in a more of an infant state. For me now, of course, I will highlight one of our key developments, that's ChemSmog. So I think this is a story I've shared already a few years. I think this remains ever more evident, that we have what I call the chemical inventory dilemma. So between 4 and 6% of production volumes annually remain left behind. It can either be unsold, unused, or can have any other reasons why they remain in warehouse. And this is, of course, something we would love to tackle. So what we have built, we have designed a quite user-friendly B2B marketplace that specifically focuses on these underutilized chemical inventory. So it's a pure niche focus system, where on top we have a proprietary data-driven model that helps us to really rapidly match potential buyers with the sellers with in-house developing algorithms. So just to be sure, because this is one of the key points we hear often, and indeed we use the word smog indeed to draw also some attention. For us, it's about the slow-moving goods, and that can be a vast array of materials. So from near expiry, expired, out of spec, you name it, we tackle practically all the materials. One of the key elements is, of course, to understand the complexity that we service, and I think many of you are very well aware the complexity of the industry, where what I call there is a sort of matchmaking surface. So the more complex a material, the more finished a good becomes. Of course, your surface area where you can potentially reposition shrinks. So of course, there is a sort of sweet spot that we need to find. So in general, I think, and it speaks quite for itself. So we want to unlock the value of assets that are on the ground. So you can create new revenue streams. You turn your cost into potential growth. You're reducing your waste-related expenses. So materials standing in warehouse, taking up space, and potentially also introducing the cost of the full out waste disposal. I think a key element that we're trying to develop more and more is to help companies actually make what I call greener purchasing opportunities. So also in this case, again, here we are a little bit more down the line, and we take this, of course, in a much more strong fashion. So we get companies onboarded to our network that can be either on the side of supplying us materials or the buying of the materials. We will have a due diligence process to follow up. Then we have our, as mentioned, matchmaking process, where it's our job to help companies to find those potential buyers for the materials. We broker the deal on their behalf, and then we are all the way till the end. We are part of the deal, so we are part until the final execution. So we follow up even if needed on all kind of logistics. So I think key aspects where actually we are very proud. So we run the system on no exclusivity. So we sort of run in parallel to your existing business. In the meantime, you can continue, or if you see an internal use, you can go ahead. Products, of course, are sold as is. I think that is quite straightforward, but it's always a very important element to mention. The deal is transparent, so we share the potential buyer with the seller. So we don't hold anything back there. We, of course, customize the service based on the needs. And it's a final point, but for me, one of the most important points we have is the no cure, no pay. So we take our fair share, so our commission upon successful completion of the deal. So we don't ask for any upfront cost. We will provide our service to cater to your needs. And at the moment, we are adding an important element, and I will highlight this a bit more in detail. And that's about, of course, what is the actual sustainable impact we're delivering. So as you can see, we have sort of what we call the standard scenario and our ChemSmog scenario. So in a standard life cycle of a product, it gets from production through this various steps in the value chain to the let's say unfortunate part of the grave, hopefully in the future significant recycling. And what we actually do is where it is standing still in a warehouse, we sort of re-loop the material back and we try to find somebody else. So we add a step, but of course the prime goal is to utilize the chemicals and not let them go to waste without being used at the maximum capacity. Of course, having the vision is one part. The final part for us was indeed to get this quantified, to really measure what this means. So we performed an LCA study on one of our earlier deals in the system. And we actually got the result that around 67% of CO2 emissions are reduced. So on the vendor side, you're actually clearly avoiding disposal. You're creating some revenue and therefore you're reducing your emissions. And on the customer side, you're actually avoiding the production phase of the material because it's existing in the market. And together with the company, we could really quantify that. You lower your cost. You're buying an opportunistic material, so you can buy at reduced market price. And overall, also here, the emissions are important. So I think especially for this crowd, for me, it's important to also highlight some of the success stories. So to show you what it means, how we handle the steps, and what are in this case, I put some emphasis on the sustainable part. So this is an example where we sold around 3,000 cartridge filters. I think quite familiar. It's not a chemical in this case, that's true, but this is of course highly used in our industry. And you can see on the vendor side, there is a reduction especially on the customer side because you're avoiding production. And we are very proud here because we're saving approximately, let's say, 18 flights between Milan and Barcelona in this case. So then we have a bit of a larger example. So this is one of our partners that was actually very happy to work with us. This was a company situated in the northeast of Italy, and they had two very large lots available due to a shift in demand and client requisitions. And I think even if I remember correctly, for the hydrogen peroxide, which is the first line, it actually went slightly below their spec. So instead of 60%, it dropped down to around 54%. And here you can see once, of course, volume starts shooting up, the impact starts having a significant factor as well. So I will not go into our famous description of the flights. For me, of course, an important element with this, and also our client was extremely pleased, and they signed a letter of appreciation. We saved approximately 680 tons of CO2 emissions. And I think this is, for us, one of the key steps that we made last year. And the final case, from my side, of course, the key thing here is, don't let your inventory go to waste. There is time, there are several solutions. We are building a successful track record. We do this in several ways. This is something we learned over the various discussions I even had at the FECC conferences in real life. So we offer end-to-end sales support. So we just handle the entire process on your behalf. You give us the right information and we take care of the rest. we have the option to set up virtual shops, so you can handle really your sort of virtual shop on the platform. We will of course give you all the support and tech support that you require, and any kind of tailored solutions. As you saw, we are working now with e-auctions and other kinds of solutions that you might think are interesting. This also connects, of course, to how we want to market materials, how we want to expose, what you have, at least what you would like to get moved. So for those interested, you can always reach out either through the FACC team. Always very grateful to have them on board, or directly to myself. And I'm confident we can identify a model that works best for you. Thank you. That was it from my side.